If you're new to MOBAs or new to Deadlock, what you should actually be doing in the game at any one time can be a little confusing. So let's break down how the game evolves minute by minute, covering important events such as small creep spawns, special item spawns, laning phase, ganking, destroying the base, and everything else in between. As soon as the game begins, you'll be assigned a lane. There's 2 duo lanes and 2 solo lanes. You can always see your lane color at the top if you ever forget, and taking the colored zip line will travel you to the lane area. The start of the match is known as the laning phase. During this phase of the game, your main objective will be to get the last hit on enemy troopers, and then shoot their souls as they fly above their heads. Before the 10-minute timer, you'll get souls for last hitting a trooper and souls for hitting the orb that flies above a dead trooper's head. That orb soul reward will also be given to the player that killed the trooper if it floats away without being shot. Whilst killing the enemy can give you an advantage and give you more souls, your main focus early on should be collecting as many souls as possible and stealing as many as you can from the enemy by shooting the orange colored souls that fly above your own troopers' heads when they die. For the first 2 minutes, there's nothing really else to do besides being focused on this exchange of fighting troopers and getting a lead in souls on your enemy. The more souls you have, the more powerful items you can buy, and the stronger you'll be to win the game. However, at the 2-minute timer, things will start to change. The first small creep camps will spawn, and killing these will give you extra soul. Because each wave of troopers will have to take time to travel from the base when they spawn, if you clear a wave on your lane quick enough, you can then start to fight those nearby camps, get some extra souls, and also purchase items from the shop. Once you kill these small camps, they won't spawn again for another 4 minutes. At the 3-minute marker, new items will appear across the map. The most important are the gold urns that can contain permanent buffs that will stick with you for the entire game. There will be 3 of these on lane and many across the map inside buildings and underground. These are really important, and getting them can give you nice buffs to your stats, and it's better it goes to you and not the enemy. Wooden boxes will also appear that can contain extra souls. Hitting boxes and killing jungle camps will give you unsecured souls. These will slowly trickle into your main soul balance, but if you die, all unsecured souls will drop on the floor and can be collected by the enemy. Luckily, if you get a bunch of unsecured souls, you can go back to your shop and buy items with the unsecured souls, so make sure to go to the shop as quickly as you can. In the early laning phase, don't spend too long out of your lane early game. And unlike some MOBAs, you're really rewarded for pushing out towers in Deadlock as early as you can, and especially destroying the walker early. Destroying each walker will open up an extra item slot which can be used for any item. Whilst focusing on these objectives, make sure to keep getting last hits on minions and getting as many souls as possible. No matter what's going on in the game, you should always be keeping an eye on the minions nearby and trying to get as many souls as you can. The only other objective besides getting these souls is then destroying the enemy towers and walker and pushing into their base to win the game. But you won't be getting to that point just yet. If you are winning on your lane in the early game though, you can start to look at doing other things around the map to help your team and yourself get a lead. Firstly, at the 7-minute mark, medium-sized and large-sized camps will spawn. These are tougher but give more soul rewards. The medium camps will respawn 6 minutes after being defeated, and the big camps 8 minutes after being defeated. If you've already destroyed your lane's tower, you can start to think about moving to other lanes to help them. Before the 10-minute marker, it's best to focus on helping another solo lane. That's because before the 10-minute timer, if you have 1 or 2 heroes on a lane, all souls collected in that lane will be given to both players, essentially duplicating the souls given to your team. So a good gank on a solo lane will help get your team the most souls. But if you have 3 or more players on a lane, the souls will instead be split up and spread out equally across those players. So try to avoid spending too much time on a lane if there's 3 or more players on a lane. At the 10-minute mark, that will change though, along with many other things around the map. Firstly, new temporary buffs will spawn. These will give you temporary extra boosts to your stats, and they will always respawn every 5 minutes no matter what time it gets picked up. At 10 minutes, you'll also have the mid-boss spawn. This is a very hard monster to defeat that will require your whole team, and killing it will give you special buffs and reduce your respawn time. Usually it's good to go for this later when the enemy team is dead and has a long respawn timer. Just make sure to charge a melee attack on this thing after killing the boss or you won't get the buff. At 10 minutes, slot machines will appear too. Hitting these will give you a big bonus of unsecured souls. Unlike urns and boxes, these will appear on the minimap. Another item will spawn at the 10-minute mark. There'll be one soul urn on one side of the map. You can pick this up and travel it to the other side of the map and place it down to get a massive soul boost. These will respawn every 5 minutes. Just keep in mind it will take 30 seconds for this soul urn to land down, so technically you want to collect these at this timer. The way souls work after the 10-minute mark changes too. Now, no matter how many people are on your lane, souls will be split equally across all players on the lane, so there's no getting double souls for your team anymore. But on the flip side, you know that you can push any lane without worrying about stealing anyone's resources. On top of that, you won't get souls for last hitting troopers anymore. You'll have to last hit the trooper and then hit the soul orb, which will now give you 100% of souls from each trooper kill. So this means late game, a good player can steal a lot of souls from the enemy. At the 15-minute marker, gold urns will be buffed, and their permanent buffs will become even more powerful. So make sure to keep an eye on them. Gold urns will spawn every 3 minutes, so you can keep an eye on the timer to come back to get them as often as possible during a match. This is one buff in the game that can't really be shown with your soul count, which could give you an edge in a team fight when someone underestimates how powerful you might be. Besides that, the rules of the game will no longer change. Troopers will start to give you more souls, and the respawn timer will increase, meaning you'll be punished for dying. But besides that, the two main focuses of the game will continue. Making sure you can get as many souls as possible, using the troopers, the jungle camps, and other items across the map. And then all you need to do is push out the lanes, destroy the walkers, destroy the 2 gun shields, and then destroy the patron to win the game. The trouble is, the enemy team will definitely be trying to stop you and also trying to achieve the same thing. At this stage of the game, you're going to be involved in a lot of team fights. There are 2 main focuses you need to remember during this stage of the game. First, keep an eye on the minimap so you can see exactly where the other enemies are. If someone has a line of sight of an enemy, they'll be shown on the minimap. If they don't have line of sight, that means they won't be shown on the minimap. What this means is if you start pushing up close to their base and you're alone, there's a good chance you might get attacked and you'll get overwhelmed by the enemy team. So make sure you're paying attention and trying to understand where the enemies are, and if you don't know where they are, try and stick with other players in your team, otherwise you're going to get in a bad situation. Likewise, if you see another enemy pushing up solo and you're together with your teammates, you can use the ping wheel to ping an attack on that enemy. If you hold down tab and ping on the minimap, it will give you a context ping for your teammates to know that you want to go and attack that player. Teamfights will happen a lot as well, and understanding who to focus in a teamfight is important. For a quick look, you can hold down the tab button and see the stats of your enemies and your teammates. The players with the most vitality are most likely going to be the hardest to kill first, and the players with the least vitality and highest damage stats in the purple and orange stat bars are going to do a lot of damage, but maybe weaker. So you can try and focus those high damage dealing characters first and avoid the tanky players until you've killed a couple of the weaker players first. Holding down the tab at any time is always going to give you a lot of information about who's the most fed, who has the most kills, and also who has the most deaths. If you see a player that has a lot of deaths on the enemy team, chances are they might be an easy opportunity for you to start a team fight, regardless of what stats they might have. So that's the basics of Deadlock and how to play. Make sure to subscribe for more. I'll be posting many more Deadlock guides and tips very soon. I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio!